Today, we're going to be testing out Buzz, which is a new app from Jack Dorsey. We're going to be testing it out with Goose CLI as well. So that's a model you can plug into Buzz. Now, if you're not familiar with Buzz or how it works, basically it's like Slack for AI agents. It seems a lot more intuitive and easier to use than something like Hermes Agent. So I'm just going to install it right here, and then we'll start testing it out. Also, you can get it on GitHub. It's a bit more complicated to install, so I'm just going to go with the normal app, which I think is much easier. And then we're just going to sign in here. Just going to get my key in the background. I'll actually just create a new account. And now we're going to install each CLI, as you can see here. So Claude Code, Codex, and Goose. Now, we'll probably need to install Goose in the background from GitHub. So you can see we've already got Claude Code, we've already got Codex. We don't have the CLI for Goose set up yet. So I'm just going to grab that from GitHub. And we can actually get the app for that. So I'm just going to download that too. So we'll open this up. This is Goose that we're going to connect to Buzz in a second. Both of these are from Block, which is Jack Dorsey's company. So I'm just going to connect to a provider here. I'm actually interested to see if we can use a free API with this. So I'm going to click on Open Router here, and then we're going to grab an API key. So you can just go to your profile, API keys on Open Router, and get a free API key. Okay, so I've plugged in a API key into Goose. Now let's try and change the models to a free one. So we've got a bunch of recommended ones, but I'm just going to go and enter a model that is not listed. Let's try with Ling 3.0 Flash Free. So I'm going to copy the model name there, and then we'll go back over to Goose, type in the model name, see if we can select that. We'll test it out here. Perfect. It is working. So the free API is plugged into Goose CLI, which we've got. Now, if we go back to Buzz here, we've got Goose set up inside there. So now we'll click on Next, and then we'll select the default harness as Goose, the provider. Who we got on the questions here? Vibe Space. PC Spark says, is this actually live and real? Yes, it is. Thanks for joining. When do you think DeepSeek V4 GA is coming? I don't know. It was rumored to come like this week, but who knows when it's coming in. And yes, this is me, real, live, in person. Nate says, hello, how are you? I'm thinking of entering the AI Profit Boardroom, but I'd like to know if the courses are also available in Spanish. They are not available in Spanish, actually. So if you need Spanish only courses, it's not in Spanish. Just being 100% clear with you there. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I'm trying to fix that. I might just fix that in a second. What do I think of Opus 5? Not very good. Like, the more I test it out, the worse it gets. So, yeah, I mean, it is super slow, and I've actually switched everything back to Fable 5. Like, it was good at first, and it's good if you're, coding something overnight and you just need to walk away. But overall, it's not as good as Fable 5, not anywhere near. It's a lot slower. It gets distracted more. So, yeah, I don't recommend Opus 5 at this point. It was good when, again, good when I first tested it, but not that great now. gonna try and fix this camera problem because it's I know what you mean. Like it's a little bit laggy when I use it. Nice. So from here, we should be able to select Open AI compatible. Then we're going to grab that API key from Open Router. So don't just plug it into Goose, plug it into Open Router as well. Back in one sec. Your AI videos are amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. That is super kind. Appreciate you watching the human ones too. I would like to know if there is a way to integrate Claude Code and Codex into the same flow within Hermes and create projects and agents based on this mix. So, usually, what I do, this is how I orchestrate all of them, is inside the agent OS, we have Claude, Hermes, Codex all inside the same workflow, right? So inside this setup here, we can orchestrate Hermes, we can orchestrate Claude, we can orchestrate, for example, um, yeah, so Claude, Hermes, and also Codex, all in the same place. So that's the way that I use them. Vibe space. So what's so good about Hermes hype? Wow. I mean, it depends. Like you've got to know what you're using Hermes for, right? Like there's no point setting up Hermes if you don't understand what you're going to use it for. But if you have some good ideas for it, then plug it in. You know, that's the way that I would look at it. So like if you have like an understanding of what you need to automate, for example, like we have a competitor monitor here, we have, for example, Hermes Oracle. These are all good use cases because like we can scan and look at our competitors. We can look at the latest trending news, and that's something that I have to do every day anyway. So for that, it's really good. But if you don't have a use case for Hermes, there's no point running it because you're just automating for no reason, right? So look at what your work is doing, and then look at whether Hermes can help you, and decide from there. TKO says, hey, just joined the session, been a little while, and happy to see you are still going strong. Thank you so much for joining. Can Claude Plan be used with Hermes or only with the API? Only with the API for Claude. But if you have Codex, you can plug Codex into Hermes instead. Are you currently developing apps? So I've been building the Agent OS for 2 months now. So that's something I've been working on, and that's going pretty good so far. And then I just put everything in here. But today we're testing out Buzz. So from here we can select our address. Then we're going to connect. We can just add our starter team and click Take Me to Buzz. Welcome, Elisa. Thank you very much for joining. So with Buzz today, we're going to set up a few automations, and one of the things that I'm going to do is try and set up a free API with this as well, because I think a lot of people want to know, okay, like, is there a free API that you can use? So I want to test this out and see how it goes. I had a goal running for the last 7 days. Insane. That is crazy. 7 days. 11 days. Like, that's such a long time. What did you build with it? Gave it prompts to make a new feature in the app, like build your own model. That's pretty cool. You can't hear me, or you can. I think you can hear me, no? If you can't hear me, let me know. Two questions from Nate here. So, two questions. Is it possible to change the front end design of the Agentic OS? Absolutely. You can change it and mold it however you want. So, for example, if you actually check out some of the testimonials that we've had, people have built their own custom UI based on our original setup. So, what they do is they get the agent OS zip file and then they just ask their agents to modify the design for them, right? So, for example, let's have a look here. Yeah, here's an example. So this is Sheena's, and Sheena's UI looks totally different to ours. So you can change it however you want once you get the zip file. And then Nate also asks, as with Claude Code, can you install skills and repos in the Agentic OS? Yeah, you could. You could just ask Claude, like, listen, install this skill, make sure you use it in the agent OS. See if we can get this working. We might have to give up on the old using the free API if this doesn't work. Livespace says we also made ChatGPT browser, just like Codex. Hmm, interesting. I don't really understand what makes Buzz special. Isn't it just Open Web UI but Discord? That's a good question. Yeah, I would say basically it's like Slack but AI powered, and you can use it. It's just much easier to use than something like Hermes. That's the way that I would see it. So, like, if you just want an easier version of something like Hermes, that's a bit more intuitive, easier to use, runs as a standalone app, and also you can plug in Claude. Those are the differences. I'm using Fable. I just don't like Opus 5. I think it's really, really slow. And I get much better outputs with Fable 5. Even Fable 5 is struggling a little bit with this to set up the free API. So let's see how it goes. Vibe Space says Low's supposed to ship the app 3 weeks ago. You just launch it and then see how it goes. That's what I would do, and then you can always improve it later. Back in a sec. Never even heard of that. What is that? Geofroggo. Explain that one to me. I've not come across it before. That's what I found out when I was 3 days into the goal. Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's what I found as well. Was just like you would give it a long task, and sometimes like when you're using Opus 5, it would take like 1 hour to do something that Fable 5 would do in like 20 minutes. So yeah, I'm totally with you. I feel like Opus 5 is just way too slow, gets distracted, loses context pretty quickly as well. You're right. I'm not. I think it's too hard to use free APIs with Goose from what I'm seeing. Like it only wants to use an API like OpenAI. So even if you're using Goose on the CLI with free APIs, you can't seem to use them with Buzz inside the platform. Not the best. Nice. I have to check that out. Sounds good. Let's switch over to let's try. Oh, look at that. You can use like Hermes as well. Thanks so much, DB. Appreciate that. Yeah, no, I'm just trying Hermes agent right now to see if that works instead. It doesn't seem to reply. So once you've got Buzz set up, like you can see right here, you can go to your settings. So go to your profile in the bottom left, settings, and then go to agents. This is once you've created a community, logged in, etc. And so once you've done that, you can select which agent you want to use. I did test out with Hermes agent and also, for example, Goose with free models doesn't seem to work so well. But if I select, for example, Claude Code here, and we just go with the default model, save the defaults now, that should work pretty well. So let's just tag one of our agents in and say, hey, are you online? No, it's not working at all. And now you can see it's beginning to reply. Perfect. All right. So we've got our agent set up. These are the default ones. If you wanted to create a new custom one, you can go to new agent over here. And then what you can start doing is creating new custom automations based on whatever you work on day to day. So let's say, for example, we wanted to have a channel that's just like, I want to be able to ask my second brain for new ideas, right? And we're going to click on create a channel, second brain. looks up my memory and gives me ideas. So this will be a channel where it understands my second brain, understands everything inside my Obsidian Vault. And this is my Obsidian Vault over here, which you can see. And so it's my second brain. So I can use that to just come up with new ideas and that sort of thing. Okay. So now what we can do is add an agent to that channel. So we'll add Fizz there. And if we tag in Fizz and we say, based on what you know about me from my Obsidian Vault, give me some ideas on what I could automate next. If you're not familiar with Obsidian, basically it's a free app that you can use to store all your memories about you, right? So you can see, for example, with Obsidian, we have all of our memories. All my agents automatically update this stuff and they know about my projects, what I'm working on, who I'm working with, what sort of tools I use, the people I work with, even my companies and everything else. So it knows everything about me. And we can use that to look through our Obsidian Vault, and then we can get ideas on what we automate. And I think this is really good for you because whatever agent you're using, whether it's Claude or whether you pull in, for example, Codex into here, you can use that to basically have personalized ideas on what you want to automate next. So we'll get some ideas first, and then we'll start building out the next automation. What we'll do in a minute as well is we'll build out some teams, so some agent teams. Can agents talk to each other with Buzz? Yes, they can. So you can build out teams of agents, which I'll come on to in a second. Hermes or Buzz, I think it depends. If you want something like that's a bit more beginner friendly, I'd actually go with Buzz. I think it's like easier to set up, easier to get your head around, easier to actually build useful things. But I think I messed it up as well, trying to use the API inside there. So I'm just fixing that now. Is that a question for me? What's my workout routine or what's the question? My workout routine, usually I lift weights like 3 times a week. I have a personal trainer, and then I train usually like upper body twice and legs once a week. And then usually Muay Thai like once a week as well. And usually get about 10,000 steps in a day. So that's my whole routine. And eat pretty clean, as clean as I can. Removed it now for you. Cheers. So if we have a look over here, it's now come back to us. As you know, we've said based on what you know about me, I just had to reconfigure it quickly because I got Fable 5 to try and help me um, before on setting up Goose, and it totally messed everything up. So don't do that. What you see here is it says pulled from the vault. Here's your automation ideas. So, for example, it's come up with a bunch of ideas that we could come up with, like a QC, a quality control pipeline, some ideas for like SEO indexing. You've got, for example, ideas on email and that sort of thing, and then also a dashboard that we could build. So all sorts of cool ideas right here. right? Including like a follow up for AI Profit Boardroom members that we could set up as a funnel. So you can get loads of automation ideas like this. And this is Claude Code connected to your setup with Buzz, right? So if we now go to a new channel, we can create a new channel here. And we could call this, for example, like image generation. Create a channel like so. And then we can add an agent inside there. And what we can actually do is create a new agent specifically designed for this. So I'm going to call this image designer. And then we have to describe what the agent should do. So I'm going to say design images based on the image I give you. And come up with multiple different versions for the image idea. So we've basically got like a custom trained agent inside here, and then we can give it like an emoji based on what it does day to day, or we can actually create an image as well. And we just have to set the default provider for that. So I'm going to select Claude Code here. And then we'll give it a nice smiley face emoji. So we'll create that agent, and now that agent is set up to start generating images. Aya says, finally, I have the chance to see you. You are my AI idol. Thank you very much. That's super kind. All right, so we've added in the image here. And then what we can do is we could, for example, like let's say we are creating an image around the video topic from today, just as an example custom workflow. So what I'm going to do is grab an example. Then we're going to tag in the image designer here. And I'm also going to give it an example image that I really like. Like this. So we've got the logo for the image you want to create and an example. And then we're going to say to the image designer, see the example attached of an image I like, and also a new logo to insert inside that image. Can you create a few variations? And then I'll give it a prompt that I usually use for image generation as well. So let's make sure that works. And you can see every time you post and ask it to do something, it will look at it and then it will generate a comment. And then you can see here that you can actually see its activity, right? So you can see what it's doing in the background there too. Now, if you hover over this and you click on view activity, you can see what it's working on and what it's doing in the background. So you can see the tools that it's using, what it's doing step by step. So if it's taken a while to reply, you can just have that working in the background and you can see the timer here. So you can see how long it takes to respond. So if something is just working in the background, you can come back to it later and we're good to go on that. Now, if we create a second channel here, we could, for example, come up with a new automation that we work on day to day. So let's call this SEO blogs. This is for creating content. We'll create a channel here. And then we're going to create a new agent for this as well. So we're going to call this SEO agent. And this is using Claude Code as well. Your job is to use your SEO skill to come up with keywords and content ideas and also publish content straight to WordPress for us. I'm just going to add an icon for that. And we'll use like a chart emoji, I think, for this one. There we go. We'll save that. Using my Obsidian Vault, can you find some new keywords to create content around? Ideally, keywords around Hermes agent. Does Buzz self-improve like Hermes? That is a good question. Well, I guess it's using Claude Code, right? And Claude Code is always taking notes and then improving its memory based on how you prefer to do stuff. So it's basically loaded in with the context from Claude Code. So if you're wondering, okay, does Buzz actually self-improve? Well, it depends which agent you're using, but if you're using something like Claude, well, then it can self-improve every time. The other thing that you could do is when you actually add in the agent, so if we have a look at SEO agent, for example, we can actually say, based on your feedback from me, self-improve and analyze your skills so that you get better every time you are used. Welcome here, Josie. Thanks for joining. So you can see this is now replied to us with a top pick. For example, Hermes Workspace. So if we click on the reply here, it's actually come up with a bunch of ideas. So it says Google Search Console pulled fresh Hermes agent keyword picks is the biggest one first. So it's actually looked at the keywords we could rank for based on the Google Search Console data that I've already given to Claude in the past before we even started using Buzz. So the great thing about this is when we're using it, it's already got all the context and all the training and all the improvements that we've given to Claude in the past. So we can see, for example, We've got a bunch of keywords. Now, these are all existing keywords that we already have. So I'm actually going to say, can you come up with new ideas, not existing keywords already ranking for? And now you can see it's actually come back with new ideas, right? Based on what we wanted to rank for. So if I have a look at these keywords, some of them are good, some of them like I wouldn't use. Let's have a look here. So I think this could be a good one. Install Hermes agent on Hostinger. So I'm going to tag in. It's important that you tag in the agent as well. If you need to know how to do that, you just type in at and then the agent. So we can put at SEO agent, install Hermes agent on Hostinger as a keyword. Can you publish the article to juliangoldie.com? Let's see if it can do that. And then it's actually using its skills for SEO to generate the article, which we'll come back to in a second. It'll probably take a few minutes to start creating the content and then publishing it to the website. But you can see we're gradually building out all the automations that we want to use for this. And then the other good thing about this is number one, it's fairly intuitive. Like most people are familiar with Slack and it's designed to be like really user friendly. But also we can add and invite other people to this as well. Now, also, we were generating that image a second ago. So we gave it the logo and we gave it an example thumbnail that we like, right? Now, what it's actually done from there is it's created these images that are actually pretty nice. Like it's done a good job on that. Okay. So you can see some examples of the type of style that is used. So it's basically taken this example plus this and then use that to generate this and this, right? And the good thing about this is like you can basically come back to this whenever you want. It's all stored inside your workspace. And we've already set up two automations in the space of what, like 10 to 20 minutes so far it's taken me. So we've already got, for example, the SEO blog set up here, which is working on in the background. And then we have the image generation tool here as well. Now, what happens if you wanted a team of agents working together so that you can orchestrate all of them at once? Let's try that. So we're going to go to agent teams over here and we'll create a new team. So we'll create this team and we'll add the image designer and the SEO agent. And then we can add optional instructions applied to every team member. And we can give a description for this team. So I'm going to say SEO blog creator. And I guess the benefit of this is you have like custom trained experts working together as a team to automate and build anything. So if we have a look at, for example, at this, we could call this the marketing team. And then we could say inside here, work together with your specialist skills so that you can basically automate and work together as a team to automate my marketing for me. So we'll create the team like so. Now, one thing I want to be like 100% transparent with you is that this sometimes times out, I think. So if we have a look, for example, previously at the image generation workflow, we actually asked it to do something, right? So you can see we gave it the prompt there. And I think it timed out because it didn't reply to us. And we actually had to say, like, where are the images? And then it actually replied to us and gave the outputs. And I'm assuming it's the same with this. Like, so sometimes if it's a big task or if it takes a few minutes, it seems to like time out and take a while to reply. So just something to bear in mind right there. Might depend what model you're using as well. So, for example, like something like Opus 5 might be really slow to respond. And that's why there's an issue. So, another question: what LLM model that you can use with Hermes on VPS that is running on the same VPS CPU? Ah, I see what you mean. So, like local models, right? What free local models? Honestly, I've not seen any good ones. I think Gemma 4 could probably do the job for you, but again, like even with Gemma 4, you gotta be a little bit careful because it's good, but it's still a bit slow, right? Particularly if you're on a VPS. So, like, just be careful with that. Usually with Hermes, most of the time I'll use APIs just because if you don't have like a DGX Spark or something like that to host the models, it's going to be super slow to reply. All right, so we now have the blog live, right? So just to recap on this workflow, we said using my Obsidian Vault, can you find some new keywords to go for? And then we said, can you go for completely new ideas that we're not actually ranking for? And it looked at my Google Search Console data. I didn't have to plug in the new APIs in. It already took the APIs that it's got installed into Claude Code on my desktop app. And then over here, you can see that it's now created the blog. So if we go over here, we have the blog fully automated from Buzz. So didn't have to log into WordPress. It targeted the keyword that we wanted. It's even, for example, pulled in some case studies. It's formatted it nicely. And the great thing about this is like we have our set up ready to go with minimum hassle. So if you look at Buzz, I think that the main benefit of this is just very, very easy to orchestrate your AI agents based on what you've already taught your agents in the past. So when you're using this, like you don't have to plug in new API keys, you pull them in from Claude. You can pull in the context that you've already got stored locally, whether that's inside Claude or Codex or inside Obsidian, whatever you prefer to use. And it's just pretty simple and easy to use, right? So it's it's a great place. And then also you've got everything stored in here so you can come back to it for later, which is really useful as well. Got a question from Yazan, which is, can you suggest laptop for running local models? Honestly, like I mean, I use a MacBook Pro, and I don't really use many local models. I think Gemma 4 is probably the fastest to respond. It's just when you use it agentically, so when you use it inside Hermes, that's when it struggles a little bit. But honestly, like local models are not that great. I would prefer to use an API pretty much every time, unless you have like a DGX Spark. I just don't really see the point of using a local model. And even then, like let's say for example you wanted something frontier, you're not really going to get that with a local setup. Like if you wanted to run like GLM 5.2, for example, you'd need a massive, massive setup. It'd be crazy. So let's try this as well. We're going to create a quality controller agent here to check the work. So your job is to check the work of your team to make sure it's actually good. And if it's not good enough, then make sure that you give feedback to the AI agents to improve it. So we'll create that agent right here. Give it a little emoji. There we go. Save the changes. And then if we go over to, for example, our team that we created earlier, we'll add in the quality controller as well. Save that now. And if we go over to a new channel here, and we'll just call this like marketing or something like that, just to test it out. Marketing team. Create the channel. Then we're going to add our agents. So we'll select the marketing team. So a good thing about this is you don't have to select individual agents. If you just select the team underneath here, you can add the team inside there. So add that team in. And then we're going to say, okay, at marketing team, this is the other benefit as well, is like you can tag the whole team in instead of selecting the individual agents. So instead of having to like individually click each one of these, we can just select marketing team. And then, by the way, if you're wondering, I'm using Whisperflow to speak to the AI. So from here, we're going to say, create a blog and an image about Hermes agent and quality controller. Just check the work and give them feedback if it's not good enough. So let's see how that goes. So you can see all three have marked it and all three are beginning to comment. And then we can see them working below here. So we can see the activity of each agent, what it's doing, how it's working, etc. So if we have a look here, it's starting the SEO work, which is the keyword research, and then the WordPress draft. And then we have the image designer. And that's beginning to start coming up with images as well. Now we have a reply as well. And it's asking for a reference image. So we'll just add that in. So we've added a reference image here for the image designer. And then you can see the quality controller is not doing any work yet. I think that's because it needs to wait for the image designer and the SEO agent to finish off. And then once that's done, it can come back to us and give feedback to the other agents and communicate with them directly. Now, in the meantime, you might be saying, okay, what can you do with Buzz? Like, what are some of the use cases? Well, I've shown you a few already, but for example, you can ask the project a question and get an answer. And the other good thing about this is agents search 6 months of history and post the threads, right? So you can store everything that you've done directly. You can also let an agent triage a bug without giving it access to everything, right? So agents have their own keys, their own channel memberships, their own audit trail. So they can basically look through their own history, but they're only limited to what you silo away for each agent. So every agent has its own permissions and can only look at specific things. So you can have one agent for each project, like we were doing, for example, with image generation and SEO marketing and everything else. Now you can see here the SEO agent has come up with the keyword research, then drafted the blog post, given us the details here, and it's also tagged in the image designer, right? So now the agents are working autonomously without me. So they're just going off and working as a team in kind of like a group chat to come up with new ideas. And they each have their own specialties. So the image designer is great at image design. The SEO agent is great at coming up with keywords and blog posts. And then finally, the quality controller can QC everything and make sure it's actually good. So they're really working as a team, and you could build like a massive team working together here, which would be super useful. GeoFrogo says you use Super Whisper Flow is what I use. Seems pretty good. I'm always done. Nice. So now you can see the image designer is coming up with the image first. And really, you can let an agent run the workspace as well, right? So, for example, if we look at this system here, the SEO agent is the one taking charge, coming up with the keywords, everything else, and then it calls the image designer when it needs it. So there's very little orchestration from me because the SEO designer is coming up with everything along the way. Now I'm going to tag in the quality controller, and I'm going to say, okay, check this post for me and see if it's good. If not, give feedback to SEO agent. Let's see if that works. By the way, this is like very experimental because, at this point, Buzz is still in the early stage. It's only launched about 7 days ago. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, why have I never heard of Buzz before? That's why. But as you can see, it's very useful and it actually has like real use cases, which is great. Now, also what you can do, if you go to your settings, just whilst we're waiting for that to load over here inside the marketing team chat, we go to the settings over here. You can also invite humans to your channel and they can bring their own agents as well. So we can invite people to the community, as you can see right here, and then we can give them this link and invite them directly, right? So if you wanted to add some friends to a community, or for example, you had a team that you're working with, that would be pretty cool as well. And you can see how quickly this could grow. And also, you can limit what people have access to so that they don't just use the agents that you have access to locally, right? You could, for example, make sure that they only have access to limited sections, right? So, for example, let's say you have an editor for videos. Well, they could use the image generator instead of, for example, having a designer. And they could use the agent instead if you've given it a really good workflow. Now, if we have a look here as well, you can see that the quality controller has given feedback to the SEO agent and it's reviewed the work and then tagged me, but also tagged the agent, right? So the agents are just going back and forth, which is pretty nice as well. So you can see here the quality controller reviewed the draft. Verdict: content is solid, but not ship ready. One real fix is needed. And so what it's actually found is that there's some bugs in terms of the grammar and also the word count was wrong, which is pretty crazy. So it looked at the word count from the SEO agent and was like, mate, like this isn't 1,970 words as reported. This is 1,580. And then it said everything else checks out. FAQ is good, or whether it's new way, etc. That's all good. And so it says SEO agent fix the capitalization instances and reping me. And then it says Gillian Goldie, blog copy is good. Once that's fixed, still holding on the image, right? And then the SEO agent says I fixed all three. We're good to go. And the quality controller says confirmed all 7 instances are now fixed, good to go. The blog is ship ready. So what we can do from here is say to the SEO agent, okay, get this published now. And that should be able to run this. Now, in the meantime, you might be wondering, okay, like how can I add my other agents to this? So, for example, let's say you have Hermes agent. Could you connect Hermes agent to a setup like this? Now, this would be super interesting. So, what I think you could actually do is you could get the GitHub from Buzz, get, for example, Fable 5 to install that or Hermes agent, and then ask it to also add Hermes agent as a option when you set it up as a separate install. I don't know if that's going to work, but we can try it out. So I'm going to go into Fable 5 inside Claude and say install this separate instance, but edit it so that we can use Hermes on the setup. And we'll get Fable 5 working on that in the background. So if we come back to this workflow now, we've got our agents orchestrating each other, which is really, really cool. And then I've said get this published to the SEO agent, and it's published it as a full blog post right here, right? So we've got a fully edited blog post, quality controlled, improved massively. It's got the CTAs on the page. It's nicely organized, nicely formatted. And that's fully published from just a simple back and forth message on Buzz, which is really, really cool. So some people say, okay, you know, what do you use it for? Use it for whatever you are working on and you need to automate. Why would you use it? Well, the benefits, just to be very clear here, number one, you can use Claude Code with it and you can use Codex. It's free and open source as well. The only thing you would pay for is the model that you bring into it. So, for example, if you bring in Claude or you bring in, for example, Codex, those are subscriptions that you would add in. It's very intuitive and easy to set up as well, much easier than setting up, for example, Hermes. And also, you can add your team very easily to the setup so that they can work with your agents. And also, it's much easier to come back to and organize everything that you've automated. So, for example, if you look at the workflows that we've created, we've got history inside the chats of everything that we've done for each automation. So if we go back to Buzz here, for example, we can look at the history of what we've published. We can look at the previous images we've generated. It's very easy to just have a look through and see what we're doing and see what's been done in the past. Also, it's really easy to just add a new agent, a new specialist agent, far easier than anything else I've seen. And it feels a lot more visual and a lot more customizable than something like Hermes. Now, Hermes still has a place. I mean, you could probably use, and we'll test this out, but Hermes could probably work with Buzz directly, which would be pretty interesting. And if we can get that working, that's going to be awesome. Let's see what we got in the comments here. What skills to learn first for beginners before come to AI? I think honestly, like just getting started with AI and experimenting with it, you'll learn a lot of skills along the way. So you don't need to wait before you start using AI, if that makes sense. Geofrogger says ask Hermes to configure it. Probably could. ES says hope that Buzz grows soon. Yeah, it's actually it's not mine. Like this is from Block, but I just want to show people how to use it because I think it's a great tool. So you can see here the Fable 5 can set this up according to it, and I'd always check that before you actually launch it. But it's going to take about 20 to 35 minutes to set up the workspace. So I think we can run Hermes with Buzz, but it's going to take like 20 to 35 minutes. So it might be like a separate tutorial that I do. If people want to see it, just let me know in the comments. I'd be interested to create that as well and test it out. Now, let's have a look what else we've got inside the settings here. So you can also change the appearance and how it looks. You can edit your profile. You can change your notifications. And then there's a bunch of shortcuts here. So you can use all these different hotkeys to just switch between things. You can also add multiple different agents. So you can see also we have codecs available here. We've got Grok Build, Claude Code, Goose, and Buzz Agent plugged in directly. And we can see which ones are active inside our communities as well. So we can actually stop these if we want to. And we can choose between our default harness, plus change any environmental variables over there too. Inside this section, we can share this machine, right? Which means that other members can run their agents here as well. So the way this works is like you can select a model and then it will use remote models for sharing, as you can see. So, like for example, Gemma 4. I've not tested that out, but that'll be interesting. And then there's a bunch of experimental features as well, like workflows, projects, polls, forum channels, agent managed profiles. And one thing they're beginning to start working on is the mobile updates. You can see that right here. Basically, I did test this recently, so I don't think it's available just yet, but you can connect Buzz on mobile to your desktop, and then you can control your agents inside Buzz from your mobile as well, which would be great. So this is really in the early stages, but super good. Lots of great stuff inside there. Really easy to use, really intuitive. And you can see how you can just quickly build this out day by day and just keep improving it over time. So thanks so much for watching. That is my full tutorial on Buzz, how to use it, how to get Goose CLI set up as well, so that you can use Goose inside there. If you're wondering how that works step by step, so when you're using Goose, make sure you've downloaded it, right? So you've got Goose open up over here. And then you can go to your settings, go to agents, and then select Goose. And then if you want to use Goose as your default, you can select Goose inside the default, select your provider for that. You can actually add a custom provider as well, and then you can go from there. So that's how you can switch between different models and providers depending on what you want to use. So thanks so much for watching. If you want to get more training like this, feel free to check out the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comments description, or just go to the AIprofitboardroom.com. This is my AI automation community that helps you learn, grow, and scale with AI automation. We've got over 200 pages of testimonials and wins from people inside the community using it. So a lot of people really loving it. It's a great place full of positivity, great people to meet as well inside there. And also just like an awesome community where we can share and we can learn and we can grow together, which is awesome as well. Inside the community, you can post questions, get help and support in real time. And I personally answer the questions inside there. Inside the classroom, you can also get access to all of our best trainings. So if you're a complete beginner, you can go from beginner to expert inside this section. If you want to get our courses for each tool, you can get that over here. And then also, we have our agent operating system inside this section, and we add new masterclasses and tutorials based on what's just dropped and what's actually useful. Now, inside the map, you can meet people in your local area who are building out with AI agents like you, and that's all available. Link in the comments description, or just go to the AIprofitboardroom.com to get access. Thanks for watching. Gio, what do you mean? You can already vision voice chat with us. What does that mean? Yeah, so it's just attend this whilst I'm in the middle of development that I'm working on. It's giving me a lot of inspiration. Really thank you, Julian, for your time and effort. Thank you so much. Group calls with AI agents. Nice. Yeah, that would be cool. Would like to see that. Yeah, that could be a while, but hopefully it comes. If it actually works, I'll create a video tutorial on it, show you how to use it. So today we're going to be answering some of the latest questions inside the AI Profit Boardroom, and we've got one here from Stan, which is: are we able to run multi AI models in parallel on the same tasks? So there's multiple ways you can do this. You could do this inside OpenRouter. If you actually go inside the chat section, so on OpenRouter, go to chat here. You can select and add multiple different models. So you can compare two side by side on the same task, if that makes sense. This way you can compare outputs on the same task. So let's say, for example, we wanted to test Quen 3.7 versus Claude Opus 5. You could say, okay, create a beautiful website, and then it will have them working side by side here, and you can compare the outputs. What I also like to do is on Goldie Bench, I'll test out the same prompts on each model, right? And then inside the compare section, you can actually see, okay, how do these models compare? Which one create the best options? How do the models look side by side? You can test each of these side by side for the models. So that's inside the compare section. Now, also inside the agent OS over here, you can have multiple different models working side by side on the same task. So you can have, for example, like Claude and Hermes, one tab with Claude, one tab with Hermes. You give it the same task and you can compare them side by side as well. I think if you wanted the simplest option, it would be Open Router Chat. But if you wanted like a quick compare, you can check out my outputs on Goldie Bench. And then you also have the agent operating system inside the AI Profit Boardroom as well. We also had another question from Doug, which is about using Claude Code. So basically, recently, Claude Code released a new way of prompting Claude that they recommend for context engineering. Some of it they've already built into Claude Code, and then some of it you can actually use and implement when you're using Claude Code or any other tool like this. Let me show you an example. So this is the article. And basically, I've talked about the new rules of context engineering for Claude 5. Now, what they actually found was that they removed 80% of Claude Code's system prompt for Claude 5 generation models. And so, what that means essentially is like they removed a lot of the fluff and found that they got the same outputs on coding benchmarks. So, when they reduced the prompts and the context that Claude is using on, for example, with Claude Opus 5 and Fable 5, there was no measurable loss on the coding evaluations. So, one of the biggest takeaways from all of this is like reduce the amount of rules, simplify your prompts, simplify your skills, and just let Claude think for itself, use its own judgment. Now, for me personally, I still prefer Fable 5 a lot more to Opus 5. I find Opus 5 goes off track a little bit and also is very, very slow. So if you're going to pick between these two models, I would go with Fable 5 for sure. But yeah, the 80/20 of it is simplify your prompts, simplify your rules, give Claude more room for judgment, and try to debloat your Claude MD file as well. This is pretty cool as well. So Michael was talking about what he's done with his agent operating system. So that's this system, as you can see right here. We give it away inside the AI profit boarding. And what it is like basically a whole system for controlling all of your agents. You can plug in all of your agents and they work together, right? And so what he's actually set up here with Cursor was an Agent OS promo machine which syncs his eBay listings to Agent OS and then creates social media content based on that, which is absolutely insane. And you can see an example of it right here. Now, I think this is fantastic because what you can do is once you've got that Agent OS system, and you can get ours or you can build your own if you prefer as well. But the main point here is like you can customize it, you can make it your own, you can personalize it, you can change the UI, you can add in your own workflows. So that's just a great example of what you can do with the Agent OS and how powerful it can be. Bear in mind, like Michael just signed up, set up, and he's good to go. He's built his own custom automations into it directly. We've got another question from Mohammed, who says he's been doing go high level voice agents, automations for a long time, and he's just getting back into it. And he feels like he's walking into a different industry. I know that feeling because like it feels like AI just changes so much. So he was watching our videos and decided to join. So two things he's here to figure out. So number one, how to properly bring AI into his business, not just build it for others, and how to get clients consistently. Great questions. So let's start with number one. So, what I recommend for anyone joining is that you actually audit your time and you figure out, okay, where are you spending your time And then how can you automate that with AI? So, for example, if you spend a lot of time generating images, you might want to set up a custom GPT to generate those images and automate it for you exactly how you want by building it into a custom GPT. Or let's say, for example, you are using Go high level, like you mentioned, Mohammed. Well, then you could actually set up the AI agent feature that's just been built in there and start automating what you're spending your time on. But the workflow is basically audit your time, measure what you're doing day to day and where you spend most of your time. And then for each task, figure out, okay, what is the most important automation I can build this week? And you just focus on one automation per week to build. If you rinse and repeat that one time per week, you'll be building 50 automations per year. And that is a huge amount of time. You might find that you only need to automate 3 or 4 things to actually save a lot of time. But the main point is this is how you can cycle up and save a lot of time and actually implement it inside your business. Then when it comes to actually building the automation, I would just go into something like Claude Code and be like, right, here's the task that I'm working on day to day. Can you help me set up an automation to build it? And then based on that, it's going to give you a app or a web app that you can use or a custom skill that you can use day to day. And you just want to test it, iterate it, give it feedback, and then test it again and repeat that cycle. That's what I do day to day. And then the next question is how to get clients consistently in this new market. Great question. So, for me personally, the number one way that I found to get clients is by documenting what I'm working on day to day. So, for example, if I'm working on an SEO workflow that I'm excited about, I'll share that on YouTube, on, for example, Twitter, on my social media, and I'll show people what I'm working on. And by doing that, number one, I position myself as an expert. Number two, anyone who's interested in automations like that sees that I can build them and comes to me and asks me to build them for them. And also, it builds an audience. And if you build an audience, you build goodwill, you build people who trust you, and that leads to getting more clients as well. So I tend to find that content marketing is the best way to get clients. And then you can just drive them to a book a call page, get the call booked in. And you want to spend most of your time, if you're trying to get clients, on creating content and then jumping on the sales calls with them. We actually have a full course for agencies, which I'll link to. Also, some people asking about like, what's the best way to run an agentic operating system in a secure way? So, a legendary member of the group, Fan, actually created a bunch of security rules that's ready to copy and paste into the agent OS. So, if you want to get that, I'll put that inside the guide here for setup. But you can see some of the rules here. For example, like ask before making changes. Only work on read-only tasks. user approval levels. Like these are really good ways to improve the way your agent operating system works. So I've added that in over here, but that is the 80/20 of it. So really cool. Thank you, Than. Let's see what we got here. Buzz says it's starting, but it ain't doing anything. What? Whereabouts are you up to, Geo? Like, are you inside the interface and you're trying to tag in an agent and then it's not responding, or what's going on there? Yes, 100% re Opus 5. Welcome 740. Thanks for joining. Yeah, that's the same. I would just make sure you've got it set up in the settings and also watch out for any errors. And if you still have problems, ask Claude to help you. Silicon says, watch all your videos for the most part. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. That's super kind. We've got another question here from Ted, who's asked, switching from Thrive themes to something cheaper and said, can anyone out here recommend how to switch my WordPress sites from Thrive themes to a free or almost free solution? And there's some good ideas here. First thing I do is just make sure you have a clear backup and don't do anything drastic with your websites because you don't want to mess it up. And I've seen plenty of people mess it up because they switched too quickly without preparing everything. But I'm sure you're already thought of that. If not, make sure you do it. As for free setups, I actually saw something recently called In Static. Now, I've not tested this out, but it is an open source project. And this is an open source alternative to Webflow, to Framer, to WordPress, etc. So it's an agentic self hosted visual CMS. Might be something worth looking into. I've not tested that out myself. Usually with hosting, there is a cost, unless you're, for example, just creating a blog on Medium or Substack, which is free. And I would start with just a staging deployment. So if you're switching from, for example, Thrive themes to something else like a free setup with WordPress, then run it on a staging site, test it actually works first, and then you can deploy it once you're happy with it. Team says, what happened to your Hermes with Buzz thing with Claude? Let's see where we're up to on that. I'll just ask it now. Inside Fable 5, see where we're up to. So that was 28 minutes ago. Ah, thanks so much. Glad it helped. Yeah, I'll check back. Remind me to check back on that if I don't check back in a second. It's doing something, but it seems to be really slow. We got another question from Inez who says, hi there, I'm thinking about signing up for Moonshot subscription with Hermes, but most of what I find says you can only use it with their API, which I find expensive. So can you or can't you use the subscription with Hermes Agent? If yes, and how? So yes, you can definitely use Kimi and your subscription with Hermes Agent. Here's how to do it. So we just need to go into our terminal. Then we're going to run Hermes like so. Make sure that's working. And then I'm going to open up a new tab here and we'll do Hermes model, right? So you type in Hermes model like so. From here, you're going to scroll down to Kimi/moonshot. And you can see inside the instructions that it says coding plan. And then you just need to grab an API key from your coding plan. Which is included in the subscription. So you can see, for example, we have Allegro as a plan here. And we just need to go to the console with Kimi. Then click Create API Key. Like this. And I'm just going to create a test one. We copy that. Go back to terminal here. Paste in the API key. And select Kimi K3. Now if we start Hermes again, you'll see it like so. So you can see we've got Kimi K3 added inside Hermes, and that's good to go. So it's pretty simple. It's a 6-stage process, but you can use Kimi K3 with your coding plan, and it's pretty simple. By the way, if you want me to answer your questions like this, feel free to post inside the AI Profit Boardroom, and I'll help you as much as I can. So you can see, for example, we've given step-by-step instructions plus a video tutorial today, plus screenshots on exactly how to do this, just to help you as much as we can. This is pretty cool. So Jason posted about Codex voice chat, and from what I've seen, it's really good. So if you're watching this and you've never used the voice, it's pretty simple. So you make sure you've got a ChatGPT subscription. Then you're going to go to ChatGPT like so. From here, you select the voice option inside the app, and you can use it from there. It's really good. The only thing that I found is it's a little bit slow at times and it struggles to do things with computer use. But for actually orchestrating AI agents and having multiple things being built in the background, really, really good. It's also good for like setting up certain settings. So, for example, if I need to change audio settings and I'm not sure what I'm doing, then it's really useful for that. We actually have a full tutorial on it over here. Oh, look at that. So Hermes with Buzz expected to take 30 to 50 minutes. That is insane. Has Fable 5 got worse or is it just me? For this, feel free to check out the AI Profit Boardroom. Link in the comments description or go to the AIProfitBoardroom.com. Geo, have you tried Quen 3.8 preview? No, but I have tried it with code already. We've got loads of tests on Goldie Bench. So if you want to see how Quen 3.8 performs, you can see it on goldiebench.com. And we've got all of our tests and builds with Quen 3.8 here. So if you want to check it out, see what it's built, etc., you can see it all over here. And it is pretty good so far. Pretty decent. It's pretty crazy as well. Like, for example, Vinny sharing this win right here. It's unbelievable what you can do with AI. As you can see, it's just really inspiring to see some of the wins inside here as well. Michael says a new Gartner survey shows that 22% of organizations are reducing entry level hiring due to AI automation. And says the focus rapidly moving from traditional like entry level stuff to agent management, right? That's what people want. I 100% agree. I don't think the AI is ready to take over anything too advanced inside enterprise, but if it's like a basic entry level job, for example, like data inputs, or for example, like managing spreadsheets, data analysis, even content creation, AI is really powerful for that. Like, if there was ever a time to start learning AI, it's today. It's never been easier to use, but it's never been seen as more important, and it's never been as in demand as today. So it's growing rapidly as an industry. So, for anyone watching this, I'm sure you're really interested in AI, and that's why you're watching this anyway. But for sure, it's something to pay attention to. Lois has built out their own agent OS. You can see here. So they've set up the mission control, Obsidian, Claude Code, Paperclip. Pretty amazing. A lot of people sharing the journey inside the group. Like, so good to see. Justin was looking for recommendations on local SEO and also GBP optimization, right? So optimizing your local listings for your website. So GBP is not something that I'm 100% an expert in. Just want to be 100% transparent with you. And I'll show you some cool stuff that we worked on recently. So we've done a couple of really good interviews with amazing people at local SEO, which I'll add here. So one with Joy Hawkins and also Paul Truscott, both really good at local SEO. We've actually got a really good case study for local SEO. So we actually automated local SEO with our Agent OS system. And basically, what we did is we started ranking for this local keyword for our SEO agency, and we've been rolling this out for like loads of pages on our website, and it seems super easy. Basically, you just go for low competition keywords related to whatever service you're trying to rank for, and then you can create the content using an SEO skill inside the Agent OS. So inside the SEO section, as you can see, we have this skill that's set up to automate content creation with local SEO. We got another question from Hunter, and Hunter was asking about email management agents for multiple different accounts. So, is there a good place for an email management system that can handle like multiple business email addresses? This is pretty interesting. So, we've got a question here as well. I saw that you use Goose. Oh, it's basically like an open source AI agent. So it's similar to Hermes and that sort of thing, but it comes as a desktop app. So it's just like another CLI. But the main point here is like it's quite easy to use, and then you can use free APIs with it. And also you can plug that directly into Buzz as well, which is pretty cool. So for email management across multiple different agents, one thing I haven't tested out because I don't really like to give my AI agents access to email, but I do have one Hermes agent with his own separate profile. So there's something called Zero, and Zero allows you to have multiple different accounts that you can use and manage for your emails. I would be careful and just set it up with a test account first. Make sure you're happy with it. Make sure you're comfortable with it. Read through the skill file as well, just to make sure that it's something you want to give your email accounts access to. But you can run multiple accounts with it, and it has a unified inbox, so you can connect like multiple different email providers to it. Michael was asking about training local models. Now, usually when I'm using local models, number one, I actually don't think they're that great. But number two, I'll usually link that to my Obsidian database, so it has my memory built in and it's custom trained on that. But if you mean like fine tuning, that's not something I've tested out. So it'd be interesting to know what you're doing with that. If you want to direct message me, I can take a look for you and just give you some ideas. So we got a question from Vinay, which is, are backlinks still the biggest ranking factor in SEO in 2026? So for me, I definitely think backlinks play a huge part in ranking your website because it's really the only differentiator between like good and bad content. Like if you look at all of these different LLM models, whether that's Google AI overviews or whether that's you automating content with Claude, for example, they can all create expert content. So what's the differentiator? Well, it's not the content because we can all automate that. It's not the keywords because we can all automate that too. I think there's really two off-page signals that help you a lot, which is number one, brand searches. So for example, if someone's typing in the AI profit boardroom a lot, then that makes us look like a real brand, which means that Google is more likely to trust us as an authority. And then also backlinks, because it's still hard to build backlinks, still takes a lot of time. And that's why most people don't do it and haven't really figured out a good way to create backlinks consistently through automation. We actually have a bunch of websites, for example, like this one. And you can see here that the traffic is growing massively over time as we build more backlinks. So it definitely helps with rankings. I've given you an example of one that has both because this has branded traffic, but it also has backlinks pointing to it. And we're consistently building more backlinks to the AIprofitboardroom.com as well regularly. So that's basically it for all the questions. I've answered every single question inside the AI Profit Boardroom community. If you want me to answer your questions like I've done today with a video tutorial and step-by-step guides, I personally answer all these questions. And then we've always got people online, which means that you can get help and support whenever you need it. And it's just a great community of people learning and growing together. So if you want to post inside the community, feel free. Link in the comments description, or just go to the AIprofitboardroom.com. Inside the classroom, you can get access to all of our best trainings. So for example, our best courses, you can go from beginner to expert with AI automation over here. And then you can also get all of my new daily updates inside this section as well. And if you want our Agent OS system, you can grab that as well inside here. Inside the calendar, you can jump on weekly coaching calls, get help and support in real time. And inside the map, you can meet people in your local area who are also building with AI agents like you. So feel free to get that link in the comments description, or just go to the AIprofitboardroom.com. Thanks for watching. Let's see if this Hermes agent setup with Buzz works. Just testing out now. So we got Hermes agent plugged in over here, as you can see. So let's see if this actually works. So we'll save that. Doesn't seem to work. I think it needs more tweaking. There might be something I'll work on when I've got a bit more time, I think. Geo says, I finally got it configured with Hermes. Would be interested to know how you did that. That's pretty cool. Back in a sec, peeps. See what we got on the questions here. Ah, thanks so much. Yeah, I'm a real person. I do get that a lot, so I understand. We got a question here. I'm a member of the AR Profit Boarding. Quick question: is this a cheat code? Opus 5 on Ultra Code. Oh, nice. I don't know what's going on there, but I do find like, have you found it's more slow doing that, or how's it going? Ran 7 agents in a row, 42 minutes, non-stop. Okay, nice. Be interested to know what you create with that. Have you run Graphify? Um, well, I mean, Graphify is just for like looking at the code of a GitHub repository. So I don't really use it so much. I don't see many use cases for it unless you really want to visualize, what's in the GitHub. But from everything I've seen so far, it doesn't seem like that useful, if that makes sense. I also want to test out something called Mage from Microsoft. And this allows you to create images locally. It's like a lightweight multimodal image generation. So I'm interested to test this out. Pretty small as well at 4B. No, it didn't work for me. Wouldn't recommend it. It seems like super buggy. Wouldn't recommend setting up Hermes with Buzz. Teamlog says we can't use Hermes and Buzz. I honestly, from what I've tested, it's not worth all the time that's involved in setting it up. So I wouldn't recommend it. You can try, but even like for example, Fable 5 just kept getting stuck on setting up. So I think because it's in beta in the earlier, probably wouldn't recommend it. I think you'd save a lot more time just doing it yourself. Just using, for example, Claude or Codex or something like that instead. Quen Port, yeah, I think I've done a video on that like a couple of months ago. It's called what's it called now? Copor. That's it, Copor, isn't it? Unless they've changed the name recently. But yeah, when I tested out, it was called Copor. So if you're struggling with rate limits on free models with News Portal, you might be better off using something like Ling 3.0 or OmniRoute instead. But yeah, I mean, like, I think OmniRoute might be the best one. I think you can even plug in the free models from OpenCode, which might be interesting to test out as well. 9route. I've never heard of that, but I might have a look at that. Would you say 9route's better, or what would you recommend? Ah, I see. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool to know. Yeah, for sure. I think Hermes with Buzz will come probably on like one of the next updates, I would imagine. Can imagine it is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun generating this stuff for sure. All right, guys. Looks like Mage Flow just totally struggled with my setup on the Mac Studio. So I'm going to end there. But thank you so much, everyone who's joined, and shout out to all you legends for watching. I appreciate you. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.